two, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those vegan guys. I thank you.
So, a gay man and his dad. I've been saying for, well, for 2 weeks exactly ago today, my dad died. And it wasn't like we weren't expecting it, because we all were. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer very early in the year, right after a holiday in Tenerife, actually. And like I say, died 2 weeks ago. And I wanted to do a video because people who know me know that I used to do my rant videos quite a lot, and I did buy this particular webcam that I'm doing this video on now, specifically so that I could start doing those rants again, and I will do. But I wanted to do this video first because I think it's really important. So let's just go back a bit, shall we? I'm 43 years old now, and when I was a boy, I know that I was very, very, very camp and effeminate, and that I used to put it on more because I kind of, when I was 10, I discovered the gay scene, and I know that my dad had a really, really hard time with that, and we had a very stormy relationship for a lot of years, a hell of a lot of years, really, too many, until I was in my early 20s, very early 20s. We had a fall. Anyone who's seen Show 1 will know that there are 2 scenes in Show 1 and Show 1 2 with a father and son, and that those scenes are based on exactly what happened in my real life. And what happened was that on New Year's Day, when I was 18 years old, New Year's Eve, I'd been working in a bar with my boyfriend at the time, Patrick, and he was staying at our house, at my parents' house in the spare room, because he'd recently become homeless. And on New Year's Eve, we decided to sleep together because it was New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Day, my dad woke up in the morning and he came in the bedroom and he said, pack a bag and get out. I'm not having any of that queer stuff going on here. Those were his words, exact words. I'm not having that queer stuff going on here. And that's why those words, exactly as they were said, are now in Show 1. And we didn't speak for a couple of years after that, me and my dad. And I used to think when I was younger that my dad epitomised everything that I despised about males. And I'll be honest and say that that's what I used to think about my dad. And then, again, funnily enough, it was New Year's Eve, and I think it was 3 years later. I think I was 21, I think. And I'd been out to the social club with my mum and dad, and me and my dad hadn't spoken all night long. We didn't even wish each other Happy New Year at the strike of 12. And then on the way home in the taxi, we got like a taxi van, because there were quite a few of us, and everybody got out at my mum's house, and it was just me and Patrick and my dad left in the taxi. And my dad turned round again, this is the second scene in Show 1, and said, let's me and you start afresh, son. And I said, all right, Dad, I'd like that, and held out my hand for a handshake, thinking, you know, that's what and he pulled me in for a hug. And I think that might have been one of the very first times he ever hugged me. But from that point forward, we got on amazingly well, brilliantly well. And me and Jason, my now husband, who I've been with for 16 years, I've been on holiday 3 times with my parents and had a fantastic time every time. And when Dad died, he said that, well, before he died, he said that when he couldn't drive his car anymore, he wanted me and Jason to have it because of the work we do with Pink Triangle Theatre. And he was really, really proud of that work. And that's what I wanted to talk about, is that this man, this butch, testosterone-filled man who was a pub regular and a regular horse better, and like I said in his eulogy at the funeral, had mates as butch as the cast of any good western, had gone from someone who couldn't tolerate male homosexuality to completely embracing it because that was his son and he had to. But it wasn't, he didn't embrace it because he had to. This is the thing, he sat in the front front row, obviously, at mine and Jason's wedding in 2009. Like I said, we've been together 16 years, but we only got married in 2009. And he sat in the front row and he had tears in his eyes, you know, he had a little cry, and he gave me a hug after and he said, "This was one of the proudest days of my life." And I shall never forget that. And I'll never forget who he was, and that he epitomised the fact that anyone can change. And that's now said after the father-son scene, the reconciliation scene in show one. One of the other actors says exactly that to the audience. You see, with a little bit of effort, anyone can change. And so I wanted to do this video and be honest and real and true, and you know, talk about the reality of what the relationship used to be like with me and my dad, but who he became. And he became a wonderful man, you know, totally accepted. He absolutely loved Dear Alan, a tribute to Alan Turing, which was the first zero budget short film that Pink Triangle Theatre attempted, basically as a free resource for schools and colleges to start a discussion about Alan Turing, who he was and his work, and it's done that. But my dad loved it, and he was really proud of that. He was proud of the fact that we were doing something positive and tackling homophobia with our shows and our little short film. And so I wanted to do this video, like I say, to mark the moment, and I wanted to do it as soon after his death as possible. So here we are 2 weeks later. The funeral, it's Monday today, the funeral was Tuesday of last week, and what a great send-off. Dad was an atheist like me, so we had a humanist called Paul to speak at the funeral, and he came down and met all the family first and found out about Dad, found out all the stories and everything, and of course I did my bit. And I'll read to you what I did. So if I don't look at the camera, do excuse me, but I will read this to you because I meant every word on the day. And so here we go. Although there has been grief, and will undoubtedly be more, I'm not here today to grieve for the loss of my dad. I'm here to celebrate the life of a man, Cyril Wilde, aka Squirrel. A very complex, loving and funny man with a great sense of humour and a deep love for his family. A true sun worshipper who loved nothing more than a nice beer and a little flutter with his wife in the sun. He was loved by so many people, and that was so obvious at the funeral because it was packed, and was a real hit with the ladies. From the gaggle of young pretties he used to work with that gathered round him in a pub on a recent night out with my brother, to the hooker that grabbed his crotch in Tenerife when he'd gone out for chips. But none more so than his wife, our mum, Joan. 55 years. Of course, if you mentioned that longevity to Dad, he'd simply say, "You don't get that for murder these days." Always the joker. There aren't many men who can say they've got 4 kids, 1 of each, and still be a beer-drinking, horse-betting pub regular with mates as butch as the cast of a good western. He was that man. 2 days before he died, we had a long chat. most of it private. But the end of it I'll share with you. He said he was proud of all his kids and that he couldn't have married a better woman. And he meant every word. 2 short stories, each for a reason. The first to share his stamina. Me and Jason went on a holiday for the first time in Tenerife. Dad's 72, I'm 41, Jason's 41. 3 o'clock, we're in the Anchor Bar, completely arseholed. And Jay says, should we go back now? And I say, yeah, it's time to go back now. And Dad says, well, let's just have one more Foot Road. Oh, all right, Dad. 3 rums, he says. Gets these 3 rums, big measures because we're in Tenerife. We drank the 3 rums, was totally blitzed. Me and Jason holding on to each other, crossing the road to our apartment block. Say, right, now we really need to go to bed, 3:45 by now. Dad, at 72, says, really? I've just got my second wind, me. That's his stamina, his sense of humour. That same holiday, we had the most amazing holiday. And I was a bit emotional on the way home, and I gave Mum and Dad a hug and said, oh, I love you, and this has been incredible, and I can't wait to come again next year. And even Dad had a little cry and said, I wish you were staying. And anyway, we got on the coach, and of course, once you're on the transfer coach, you can't get back off, your suitcases are in and everything. So the door shuts, and just as we're about to leave, Dad looks up at us on coach, looks at his watch. Fancy a drink? That's exactly what I did. That's his sense of humour. Again, always the joker. Cyril was an atheist, as am I, and several other family members. We don't have the comfort of heaven to lean on at times like this, but science threw us a line. Something we can all hold on to. We are, as human beings, mainly energy, and energy can't die. It can transform, move on, but it doesn't die. Neither will Cyril. As long as his wife, children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, his friends, extended family and all who knew him, as long as we think of him and talk about him, then he's here. We still share his energy. I take comfort in that, and I hope you do too. Finally, I said, I'd like you all to join me in a very well-known tune. And I went on to mention a song that was written for a famous footballer in 1970, which bore the name of my dad. And everyone in the crematorium sang, nice one, Cyril, nice one, son, nice one, Cyril, let's have another one. So nice one, Cyril. Thank you for being my dad. Oh, I shouldn't say things that get me set like that, should I? Thank you for being my dad. Thank you for being a wonderful man. Thank you for being in the front row of my wedding. And thank you for being you. And I also want to say that I think people should have more of an inclusive approach to death. I was determined to be very involved in all of this. So when the funeral directors came to take my dad, and I have to say that we had a very tribal day. Dad died at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he was with us there at the house until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when the funeral directors came, and when they came, 2 of them came obviously, and all my family who were and are devastated had to go in the kitchen, and I said, no, I want to stay, and can I please help you to put him on the trolley? And I did that. And I also asked if I could go and dress him at the funeral directors, and I chose his outfit. Of course, I asked for everyone's approval, my brothers and sisters and my mum, and everyone was happy with what I chose. And I chose an outfit that he would have worn on a Friday night out with my brother Stephen, because I'm not going going to edit this, by the way. This is just raw. Deal with it. Those Friday nights with Stephen meant the world to him. And I went up and addressed him. And it was a very healing experience for me. And my sister came with me. And she says afterwards that she came to support me, but she got a lot from it herself, and said afterwards that she felt a lot better. And so, you know, I do think that we should have a more inclusive, it's not somebody else's job to deal with people that we love and care for. It's get involved, because it's really good for you. And so, to my dad, wherever his energy now emits or evolves or whatever, I say, I love you, dude, and thank you for being you, and thank you for creating me, and thank you all for watching this, if you have. Cyril Wilde, the 9th of December 1938 to the 21st of January 2030. Always remembered, never forgotten.